Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thanks to everyone for joining us. We have some people still joining, so we'll give it just a minute, another few minutes to let everyone get online. But thanks everyone for joining us. Looking forward to the discussion later. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, to state your name, where you work, where you're coming from, and to just introduce yourself and get to know some of the others here. Welcome everyone who's joining. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. We're just giving it another minute for some others to join since I see some people are in the waiting room. Okay, great. So we still have some people joining. I can see them in the waiting room coming in, but while we're waiting for everyone to come in, I know we have a busy agenda today, and I'm very excited about some of the speakers we have. Well, I'm always excited about the speakers in our town hall because I feel like we learn a lot and really get to create this great sense of community with everyone by learning from each other. But I think today will be really exciting. We, in particular, will be welcoming a few speakers today. We'll have George from the African Early Childhood Network speaking about an upcoming report and tool that a regional team of GISP within Sub-Saharan Africa have been working on together, following up from the African regional convening in 2022. So he'll be sharing a bit about that. We also have a panel of country participants from India who are going to be talking about coordination and technology for parenting support within India. We're really excited about this panel as well. And we'll also be talking about some upcoming events and highlighting some new evidence in young researchers within parenting and caregiver support. So as you can tell, it's a busy agenda today. We'll also have some time for discussion at the end, as always, to share and hear from the community. But we'll go ahead and get started. If you haven't introduced yourself in the chat yet, please feel free to do so. And just as a housekeeping reminder, we are recording. We'll share the recording afterwards. As always, feel free to keep this very interactive. Put your hand up, put questions or comments in the chat. We really want to encourage discussion and participation from everybody in the community rather than having this be kind of a directive webinar. So feel free to jump in at any point. We do ask that you keep yourself on mute when you're not speaking, just to make things easier. But we'll go ahead and get started. So I think all of you probably know the background behind the global initiative to support parents, but suffice to say that in spite of the wealth of evidence around parenting caregiver support, still only about a quarter of all governments say that they're reaching all parents who need it. So the need to come together around different sectors, around different outcomes is still really important and really vital, especially as we move past that COVID-19 period into the next period and are still seeing all these challenges that parents are facing. So The global initiatives to support parents came together to enable all parents and caregivers to access quality and evidence-based parenting support according to their need. And we work with all of you. We work with everyone in the parenting community, donors, researchers, program implementers, governments, and NGOs in order to come together to act as a platform for parent and caregiver support all around the world, combining these different sectors and outcomes. And GISP is coordinated by ECDAN, the IRC, Parenting for Lifelong Health, UNICEF, and WHO. But these town halls are really meant to be an open forum for everybody in the community to join together and to listen and learn from each other. And we work across 4 pillars of advocacy, evidence generation, innovation, and scale. So we are a little bit excited today because we've had town halls in the past. We had 2 during Parenting Month. We've had them on an ad hoc basis before, but this is really the launch of a monthly series of town halls. So this is the first one. So we're really open to your feedback, to hearing from you about what you find helpful, what you want to hear more of in the future, and also how you want to contribute and what you want to share with the parenting community in the future. So we're making this a fresh take. We're trying out a new format. To make this more engaging and impactful. We really want to hear from you and to connect with you as a community, to share passion, evidence, new resources, anything that you really want to learn from the community or that you want to share with the community. We also want to spark new ideas, including valuable insights and innovative strategies for empowering parents in your community and in your countries and counties and cities, because that's really what it's about in the end of the day, is supporting parents and caregivers. To listen and participate. So if you want to just listen in and not add anything, that's fine. We're happy for you to come and learn. If you would like to join in as part of the conversation, we really want to encourage that as well. We want this to be useful for you as a community. And then joining a global movement. We really like to say that GISP is greater than the sum of its parts, because it's not just one individual agency working towards parent and caregiver support. It's all of the agencies working together for all parents around the world. And so we are really encouraging you, if you have ideas for themes for future town halls, feel free to reach out to us. I put our email in the chat on the slide, but I'll also put it in the chat here so that everyone can have it. And we really encourage you to reach out to us. We want this to be collaborative and co-creative and co-developed, and to really address the priorities and concerns of countries, and to make this useful for everyone who's involved. Okay, now that I've done my introductory spiel, we just wanted to highlight a few upcoming events, and I promise I'll stop talking too soon, because I know that you didn't come here to hear me speak. You came here to hear from the community. But just to say, we have a few upcoming events where parent and caregiver support will be highlighted. And we also encourage you to share more events if you know of any other events. So the first is the ISPCAN Congress, the International Society for the Prevention of Child Abuse and Neglect, which is coming up in August. GISP will be organizing a side event for the UN General Assembly and focusing specifically on parent and caregiver support. If you will be at UNGA, we would love to hear from you. And we will be sharing more information about that event soon. The SVRI Sexual Violence Research Institute Forum will be coming up in October. The International Step-by-Step Association, focusing on early childhood in Europe and Central Asia, is coming up in October in Bulgaria. And then we also have the Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children in November in Colombia. And this is where we really wanted to reach out to you as a community. Are there other events that aren't on our radar where we have the opportunity to share about parent and caregiver support? And when I say we, I mean us collectively as a community, not GISP specifically, where we can really elevate parent and caregiver support, share the evidence, or just to learn from others too on what they're doing on parent and caregiver support. If there are any events not on our radar in the next couple months, again, feel free to reach out over email, or even better, put it in the chat so others can hear and learn too. And then also, we're curious to hear about, what are your advocacy priorities for these events? What do you want others to know? And what do you want researchers and implementers and policymakers to learn? So since this is all about hearing from the community, and I feel like I've talked for long enough now, I'm just going to pause for a second and open this up to everyone. Feel free to put your thoughts in the chat or to raise your hand if you have any thoughts and would like to speak. But again, if you know of any upcoming events, or if you have any advocacy priorities or messages that you want others to hear at these upcoming events, we would love to hear them.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Eve. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Amanda, for that very informative introduction. And I will say out loud what I put into the chat, that Parents Forum, Cambridge, Mass, is looking for partners. And what we look for in a partner is an agency that directly serves parents and would be interested in licensing our curriculum, which is 9 questions about family life issues. It doesn't tell you what to do. It asks you what's working and gets parents together to share. So I put that in the chat, info@parentsforum.org. And again, thanks.
Thanks, Eve. And I've been trying to monitor the chat, but if I miss something, feel free to just throw your hand up or raise your hand or jump in because I might be missing something with the messages. Uh, Great. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add? If not, then we'll jump into our speakers for today. Great. Okay. First of all, I want to introduce George Owino, who is actually coming from us from AFCAN, the African Early Childhood Network. And he is here to speak on behalf of a group of GISP regional partners who helped to organize the African Regional Convening on Parent and Caregiver Support, which took place in 2022. And they've been working on a compendium of case studies collectively over the past few months. And that will be launching soon. So I will not say any more and spoil the surprises, but I'll let George introduce the compendium and speak a little bit about it and what we have to look forward to.
So thank you very much, Amanda, for the introduction, and glad to see and meet all of you on this platform. I just want to build up from where Amanda's left. As she has noted, in the year 2022, and I can see some of the participants here, Katie, who are very instrumental in organizing the All-African convening to support parents and caregivers. So in June 2022, the partners that constitute GISP, including World Health Organization, AFRO, UNICEF, East Southern Africa region, Parenting for Lifelong Health, GISP itself, ECDAN, came together to launch the All Africa convening to support parents and caregivers. This was a 3-day event that took place between 21st, 22nd, or 23rd of June 2022. And during this meeting, countries presented what kind of programs that governments have in place for parents. There were implementing partners, researchers that also presented the evidence, research-based or evidence-based intervention that we're implementing that had been evaluated for their impacts, but also were being looked at as potential for being scaled up. So a number of these presentations were presented over this 3-day period, showcasing what was being done to support parents, to reduce violence against women and children, to just also bring about the involvement of fathers in childcare. And this 3-day convening, when it was coming to an end, the partners realized what kind of a rich array of programs, of interventions that if well documented could provide a rich reference and resource for policymakers, for program implementers and designers, and even for academia to build on and to see how then this could be scaled up in other countries or even within the country itself. So when the meeting came to an end, the partners resolved one of the key calls to action was to consolidate these studies into a compendium of African initiative to support parents and parents of adolescents and caregivers. And so the partners came together, developed a steering committee to guide the process. We identified a consultant to help us document the studies, define the studies, bring out the key features in the studies, look at their scalability, look at the kind of evidence they're generating. And one of the things that the researchers had to, or the studies and initiatives had to meet, was that they had some kind of strong evidence already documented, or they had potential to generate evidence that could then inform practice and policy. So over the last 2 years, since 2022, June, we have been with the process of developing the compendium, compiling these studies, and the compendium comprises about 28 such studies. They have been well illustrated, giving the features of each study, and the compendium has a map that shows which countries each intervention is being conducted in. A number of studies are being implemented across multiple countries and also perhaps across multiple platforms, bringing together several actors together. So with the compendium now ready and finalized to be released to the various categories of stakeholders, the partners agreed or thought it wise to launch the compendium, just to make sure that just the way we did the convening, we also give importance to the product, one of the key products of the convening, which is the compendium. And so we look forward to launching this compendium in a meeting that will take place on the 4th of September. It will be virtual, a virtual webinar, 90-minute webinar that will bring all the partners in the GISP group, and also bring together the 28 programs and their supporters and all the other stakeholders within the ECD forum. And we look forward to as well people in this meeting and their partners also coming together when we launch the compendium on the 4th of September. The meeting will take place from around 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. East African time. And just look out for the save the date when we shall send it. And we look forward to meeting you in that meeting. Thank you very much, Amanda, and over to you.
Thank you so much, George. I can say that I was involved with organizing the regional convening. And as George mentioned, a lot of you who are online were as well or attended. And I've seen the compendium be developed over time, and I'm really excited for the launch. I think it's going to be a really exciting event and great to have all the speakers involved. As George mentioned, it'll be on September 4th, and we'll be definitely sharing the invitation with everyone in our mailing list. So definitely feel free to join us for that. Even if you're from a different region, we think it'd be a great learning experience, and really invite everyone to join us, and we'll be sharing more information about that shortly. So thank you for joining us, George. I will pause just a second to see if anyone has any questions for either George or any of the other collaborators just before we go on to the next section. I'm not seeing any questions, but I am. Oh, Oscar, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, George, for the update. Nice seeing you also and seeing everyone else on the call. A quick question. At the launch, other than those of us who are members of GISP and those of us who are in this room, are we looking to make sure that we have some ears from either government who are going to be our target or others that we could, or would you like support in that particular regard in terms of inviting those that we think would be important to be in the room, especially from the African region, amongst government actors?
Okay, thank you very much, Oscar, for your kind offer to extend the invitation to governments. I think that's quite welcome. Please let's share the invite to as many as possible. But we look forward I just didn't say about the outlay of the webinar, but we will have a few governments showcase some of the progress that they have made since 2022, but not mean just to in the panel, but also we'll have funders in that panel. We'll have some of the actors here, and in terms of the people who will be invited to attend, we will be looking to use the mailing list of people who attended the convening, but also I know we will need to share it also to others who are not really necessarily part of that convening, so that the reach can go wider. Thanks very much, Oscar.
And I see a thumbs up from Oscar. Thanks, George, for adding on to that. And yes, great question. Okay, great. If there are no other questions for George or about the compendium, then I will go ahead and switch to our next speakers. So I'm very excited to introduce a panel that we have today. And this is something new that we're trying, is to have panels on specific contexts or specific countries or themes to really deep dive into information and to learn more from others, and to find out about the evidence and what's working and lessons learned. So next month, just as a sneak peek, we're planning on doing a fatherhood in crisis panel with those who work with fathers and male caregivers in crisis settings. But this month, we're really excited to have a panel of civil society partners all working on parent and caregiver support in India. So I will let Deepika share a little bit more about what we'll be talking about today. But first of all, I wanted to quickly introduce all of our speakers, starting with Deepika, who is the Chief of Policy and Partnerships and part of the leadership team at XSTEP Foundation since its inception in 2015. At XSTEP, she leads the foundation's work on early years, leveraging the power of networks and narratives to bring focus and attention to the growth and development of children in the early years through the Bachpan Manao Bati Jiao Mission Initiative, which is initiated by XSTEP Foundation. She is also involved in diverse projects associated with the creation and adoption of digital public goods and digital public infrastructures. She currently lives and works in Bangalore. She is an accomplice in the upbringing of 2 teenage girls and 2 rescued dogs and refuses to start the day without a proper strong cup of South Indian filter coffee, which sounds great to me. We'll also have 2 speakers on the panel. Urvashi Nagpal, who is the Associate Director at Saja and leads strategic initiatives to empower parents in enhancing their children's education through innovative technology. With over 10 years of experience across development, education, and corporate sectors, she excels in optimizing operations and scaling impact. Urvashi is passionate about driving innovation and fostering collaboration to strengthen parental support and children's learning. And the third speaker we'll have today is Paramita Panjal, who's the Director of Community Engagement at Groundvani Community Media. And she's a seasoned professional with over 17 years of diverse experience in development, content, and technology. Throughout her illustrious career, Paramita has collaborated with nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and for-profit companies, gaining valuable insights into various sectors and thematic areas. Throughout her professional journey, Paramita has dedicated her efforts to making a significant impact in areas such as gender, social inclusion, community governance, microfinance, livelihood development, adolescent empowerment, child rights and protection, forest and ecological conservation, sustainable agriculture, education, and health through her profound knowledge in technology for journalism. So without further ado, I would like to hand over to Deepika to share a bit more about this panel and then hear from the presentations from our civil society presenters in India.
Thank you so much, Amanda. And thank you for sort of introducing the whole panel so beautifully. And it is indeed a pleasure to be part of this community today. And I hope for those of you for whom this is morning, you are getting your cup of coffee. Okay, my name is Deepika. I work at XSTEP Foundation, and we work at this intersection of narratives, technology, and networks. And like Amanda mentioned, one of the initiatives that I lead is called Bachpan Manao Badhte Jao, which essentially is a narrative for early childhood. I want to take a minute to talk about where and how this idea began. And the essence of it is, as a community and an ecosystem that's looking to make change, and particularly when you're trying to involve parents in conversations and all caring adults in conversations, at XSTEP, we felt that there was sort of a need for a language which was kind of embracing the essence of the early years, which could roll off the tongue easily, and that is something that parents could engage with easily. And Bachpan Manao emerged out of a collaborative action of over 30 or 40 different individuals from 20 different organizations saying, this is the idea. The essence of what we want to shift in the early years is for parents to embrace the joy of childhood and for teachers to embrace the joy of childhood and bring that into their work. So I just want to quickly use my time to say that Bachpan Manao is a network of collaborators who engage in the space of the 0 to 8 years of learning and do various things. And some of it relates to engaging with parents and trying various experiments to engage with the parent community. And two of the Bachpan Manao Collab actors will be presenting their initiatives today. Their initiatives have existed even before Bachpan Manao existed, but it gives sort of an umbrella thread or loose language of narrative to connect with the larger story. That's what it does. And I will take my little time before I bring them on to just kind of give you an overview of Bachpan Manao and Ekstep for 2 minutes, and I will then hand it over to Urvashi and Vandita, as well as Paramita, who will walk through the initiatives that they are doing in the way that they are connecting with parent communities in India. One thing which has happened certainly is parents have become central to our conversation of change, particularly in engagement with learning. In India, there are 25 million children who are born every year. And if you look at the mean age of mothers, it is somewhere around the 23 to 27 years of age. So essentially, we're talking about women who have had some amount of schooling experience. So parenting, at least early years parenting, is a completely different conversation from several years ago. And post-pandemic, it has certainly become a different conversation. Parents have become central to all interventions. So to that extent, I think there is a lot of opportunity here, and all of these ideas that we're talking about sit squarely in that space because of that opportunity. Yeah. I just want to quickly run through a sort of an overview presentation, which will take 2 minutes. This is a little bit about Ekstep Foundation and how we actually look at societal transformations that are people-centric, but fundamentally, a lot of our work is in the open source and open public goods space. Bachpan Manao Batti Jab is the initiative that I just introduced, and at the intersection of it is networks. Networks is the organizations. There are 100+ collab actors who are part of this. Narrative is the stories we tell and the initiatives that emerged under the umbrella of Bachpan Manao. And technology as a public good that the teams and the ecosystem can leverage and use. Essentially, Bachpan Manao focuses on encouraging parents and caring adults to recognize the abundance of learning opportunities in the first 3,000 days. It's not as if we as Ekstep as a singular organization are doing it. It is an ecosystem of organizations that are doing their own thing, but are connecting to a larger idea. And then there is space for seeing, learning, and growing with each other, and sometimes coming together for campaigns. The problem that we saw, the narrative, as I explained, the role of networks is to amplify the narrative and create, use, and offer public goods that others can reuse. And the relevance of public goods, particularly with technology, is to be goods which can be in the hands of the parents and that can democratize access to useful information and resources. So today you'll hear two initiatives, one which is a WhatsApp-based solution and creating a mentoring network framework through voice calls, but another one which is an IVRS-based community platform. And I will talk about how AI assistants could become useful as tools to be leveraged by organizations in their engagement with parents. And this is an initiative in collaboration with the government. Essentially, Bachpan Manao enables the creation of public goods through research, insights, technology, ideas, messages, even posters and films and content. So it's about how to bring the abundance of all our various ideas and make it usable by others in our ecosystem. Essentially, we connect, you see, you do, you take what you can and you work with what works for you. If you're a nonprofit, you can take things from here. If you're a for-profit, you can. If you're a government school system, you can. Anybody can. That's essentially the essence of creating an umbrella narrative called Bachpan Manao. Essentially, the essence of Bachpan Manao, even though I'm saying it in Hindi, it translates very simply in English to celebrate childhood, keep growing. And this is a message for every caring adult who engages with children directly or indirectly. And with that, I I hope I've sort of painted a picture of this loose collaborative we call collab actors, because it's a collaborative for action where a lot of people do their own stuff, but show their work to each other, pick up what works and take it from there. Yeah, I'm going to hand over to Urvashi at Saja. And Urvashi and Vandita at Saja are going to talk about their parent engagement program, which they run for 8 years. And there's an interesting amount of learning from their work. Paramita from Pani, where she speaks a horizontal platform, which is a and how that is a value in technology-enabled spaces, where literally like a voice-based Facebook system. And it's a very interesting idea that they've enabled, and sort of she will talk about how they did that in the context of parents and the Bachpan Manav ecosystem. And I want to hand over to Urvashi and Vandita. Take it away.
Thank you, Deepika, for the beautiful explanation of bringing the parenting concept. So, hello everyone, I'm Urvashi from Saja, and I would like to share whenever I think, okay, so you can see the poll on your screen. I'm sorry. Yeah, Amanda, can you share the poll again?
Sure, let me just. Okay, I see some of you responding.
Yes, Amanda, it's visible on screen.
Okay, great. So we'll just give it another second for those to respond, and then we can share the results. Okay, let's see the answers. We've got about half of you responding, so last couple seconds if you want to put in an answer still. Okay, great. And can everyone see the results here?
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing your responses. 57% voted. As I can see the responses, most of the people responded, yes, this solution has made our life more convenient. We envision the similar solution for parent-child communication and foundational learning. Imagine a platform for parents and children which can support in their educational journey. At Saja, we designed a similar kind of platform, human and technology-led platform, to enhance parental communication, ultimately improving child learning outcomes. I would love to share our first digital solution, that is a parent helpline. If you are a parent, the parent can call at any time at their own convenience and discuss their child learning needs. And our calling team, which comprise mothers from the similar communities, responding as much as assist their needs to support them in their learning needs. That become a reliable mode of communication for parents. At the same time, this calling team reaches out to monthly on children and parents on monthly basis and ensures to cover 3 elements. Number 1, relationship building. So we believe to establish the relationship with parents and create a trustworthy environment. Second, Over the call, we conduct academic assessment of the child and share the progress with the parents so that they should stay informed about their child progress. And before closing the call, we provide the guidance to parents on various topics so that they can support better their children at home, such as how do they understand children likes and dislikes, how they can appreciate the behavior at home, how they can speak during PTA. So these kind of the guidance provided by our calling team to assist parents in to support their children. And if I talk about our WhatsApp-based solution that aims to provides personalized content to parents and children. How? So once they register with us, it is easier to access the library of all the educational content in one place, such as stories, parental-child communication related activities. They can access to the content to empower parents supporting their children at home. As I mentioned, our calling team conduct the assessment on call and mark the level on the calling application. As they mark the level of the child, automatically through WhatsApp chatbot, personalized content is shared on the basis of their learning level. At the same time, as we mentor parents through calling, at here also a parent can send their queries, audio, in written, and in any form. They share their queries, and within 24 hours, they get the response. I would love to demonstrate our WhatsApp chatbot, how it is easier for parents to register. I would like to request my colleague Aman if she can share the video.
Urvashi, can you stop your screen so I could
Yeah.
share my...
Thanks.
Thanks. 1 second. Just let me know if my screen is visible. Hello.
It is,
Hello.
but we're getting the Zoom
Okay.
window.
I think there is some problem. Just give me 1 second. Urvashi, meanwhile, if you can explain something about
Okay.
WhatsApp bot more.
Yeah, sure. So it's easier for parents. They just send hi and give a missed call number, give a missed call to our number. And as they send hi, they can register with us and access to all the library as I mentioned with you. So it is easier for parents. Before Aman starts, okay.
Please continue. There is some problem with my screen.
Cool.
I said I requested you, please.
हेलो दोस्तों, इस वीडियो के माध्यम से
Is it visible now?
Yeah, it is visible,
Yes.
Aman.
सबसे
Okay.
पहले आपको साझा के व्हाट्सएप नंबर पर हाय लिखकर सेंड करना है। इसके बाद आपको मुख्य सूची पर क्लिक करना है। फिर विकल्प चुने के ऑप्शन पर क्लिक करके आपको कई सारे ऑप्शन दिखेंगे जिनमें से किसी एक को चुनें, जैसे कहानियाँ। फिर आपके सामने एक कहानी आएगी जिसे देखने के लिए आपको लिंक पर क्लिक करना है। यदि आप कोई और जानकारी लेना चाहते हैं तो मुख्य सूची पर क्लिक करें। इसके बाद विकल्प चुने पर क्लिक करें। यहाँ आप कोई भी विकल्प चुन सकते हैं, जैसे गतिविधि। यहाँ आप जो गतिविधि देखना चाहते हैं उस पर क्लिक करें, जैसे गणित की गतिविधि या हिंदी की गतिविधि। मुख्य सूची पर क्लिक करके आप दोबारा से विकल्प चुनकर दूसरे ऑप्शन में से किसी एक ऑप्शन को चुन सकते हैं, जैसे ऑनलाइन लर्निंग एप्स। इस पर क्लिक करने के बाद आपके पास विकल्प चुने का ऑप्शन आएगा जिसमें कई सारे ऐप होंगे। आपको कोई एक ऐप को चुनना है, जैसे रीड अलोंग ऐप। इस पर क्लिक करने के बाद इस ऐप को डाउनलोड करने के लिए आपके पास लिंक आएगा। इसमें मुख्य सूची और सवाल पूछने का ऑप्शन भी है। मेरे इस वीडियो से आपको साझा व्हाट्सएप चलाने में मदद मिली होगी।
Thanks, Aman. So the content is in Hindi. However, the essence of showing the video is very easy for the parents because it is in Indian language, that it's Hindi. Parents can easily understand. They'll get the messages in audio and then the written messages so that they can click the message and read about how they can support their children at home. However, what is the foundation of our solutions? That is the partnership with the government entities. We have collaborated with State Council of Education Research and Training. Through that, we conducted comprehensive research and analysis, understand parents' needs, barriers, and their preferences, and then design the content. It is reviewed by experts, and then it is disseminated to parents. And we have collaborated also with the public school to extend our reach to parents. So it will help us to maximize our reach and provide more support to more and more parents. The- Considering this, we believe using technology, we can maximize our reach at a minimal cost. Having said that, our vision to support 1 million children by 2028, so that the chances of foundational literacy and numeracy could be double and enable more and more parents in the community. Yeah, thank you. Now I would love to hand over the next presentation to the Parimita from the Gram Vani, who has done some amazing interventions in India. Thank you.
Thank you, Urvashi. Thank you for introduction. Thank you, Deepika. So yeah, I'm just presenting my screen. Please let me know if it's visible. Is it visible? If you can let me
Yes.
know.
Yeah, we can see that.
So yeah, as Urvashi had introduced, I am from Gram Vani, and Gram Vani is a social tech organization. We are majorly focusing on bridging the information gap among the underserved communities. And before we start, I would just like you to take a little time to respond to these questions in the comment. So in your opinion, what is the most effective method to reach out both rural and peri-urban communities? So just write the numbers in the comments so that we know where we are, because there are a lot of people from other countries as well. So I will focus on Indian context only, but to know your thoughts, please comment in the chat. Just write 1, 2, or 3, whatever seems feasible. Should I move ahead? Have we received the comment?
It looks like we're getting a good number of 2s, a couple 1s in there. Anyone else want to add their answer before we move on? Mostly 2s with a few 1s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now, looking at your response in Indian context as well, it seems like we all feel the multimedia platforms are better way to reach out to the communities. But there are issues in reaching out to those communities, and these are the issues when we consider Indian communities, because low awareness level is a barrier about how things works. Then limited actionable information. If I have information on what is the scheme, what is the availability, then I don't know what I should do. And then non-inclusive channels, like the channels, like how to access things, are some of the barriers. These are the barriers. And language in India, there are a lot of languages, and there are a lot of diversities in social context as well. So language is also a barrier. Considering that, we in Gram Vani, we have thought about a theory of change, which is contextual information and participatory communication. It's not one way. Just think about Twitter or Facebook, where people are participating, they're putting their content, putting their opinions, and people are discussing. But those people who are not on the internet, who are not available online, what is the medium of their communication? Actually none, if we think. So we thought about creating a platform for those people who are either not available online or has very limited access to online content or online informations. And this is the idea from where we came into the picture of this bridging the gap information. And with this idea, we have actually reached out to a lot of lives and lot of communities and in countries. We are with our partner intervention, we are active in 5 countries other than India. And in India also, we are available in 20 states. We are trying to expand to more and more users through the partners, because this is a solution which needs to be taken to the community who are at the bottom of the pyramid. That's our thought. And that's how we came into the picture with the Egg Step and the Bachpan Manao campaign. So with the problem statement, what is the solution? Before going to the solution, I would again like you to answer this small question. Just write 1, 2, or 3. That in your opinion, which community is the most unreachable? Just write 1, 2, or 3 in comment.
It looks like everybody so far is saying 3. We have 1, 2. One answer saying 2. Mostly 3s.
3s, yeah, of course. So 3s because they are not on internet. And if you consider the 2 as well, they are often on accessible. So they are very hard to reach. And to reach out, and they are perhaps the most vulnerable communities. To reach out to them, we have a solution called Mobile Buddy. It's a voice-based platform, just like Twitter or Facebook on voice, where people can share their opinion, they can discuss on any topic, they can express their opinion on any given program, because we as an organization, we partner with multiple organizations and bring them information on the platform which might be of their interest, which might be of their use. So those informations are available with our basic feature phone, with keypad phone. If they're not non-internet users, so they will have a small feature phone, and this platform is available on the feature phone as well. It's just IVR based. They need to press the number and connect to the platform. So we have this solution for those bottom of the pyramid who are not on internet or often on the internet. Though we are available, Gram Money is also available on app and WhatsApp and social media, but our primary focus is on IVR, because in India, a lot of people are still offline. And our main approach is to appropriate tech so that people with language barrier, people with educational illiteracy or non fancy education can also access the tech and interactive content, so that people don't get to say what is robotic thing is happening over there and all the preachy things are being talked about. It's interactive, appropriate tech, and community participation, considering community voices. I may want to sell banana, but people might want to buy apple, so I have to sell apple with a thought that banana would be beneficial for you if you take it with apple as well. So community participation is also important, that what community wants, and that is our idea of this IVR, or overall bridging the information gap. And just to cut short, that from user perspective, that this is a very simple technology. Like user don't need to spend money, because they give a missed call and server calls them back, so that they don't need to pay for this information. whatever they would be accessing on the platform. And then they can navigate over the platform and can access the content of their interest. They have their choice, they have their agencies to choose. We have a team of moderator who actually listen to all the content whatever is being recorded from the community, so that we keep a check of community demand, community concerns as well, and we can serve them with their needs. And then come to the overall broader aspect, like bringing all the stakeholders together and building a common connection, so that we can serve the community not only through the information, maybe with the policy change as well. This is the overall technology, overall architecture that we use for this IVR, though we are on WhatsApp or chatbot and app. Now come to this parenting. What is your thought on most effective way to learn about the parenting approach? Just write 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the most answered, if anyone can tell me?
We have a couple people saying all of them. And then let's see, some people saying 2, some 3, some 4. Most people are saying all of them.
And what if I say almost all are available on the IVR? Yes, exactly the same is happened with Bachpan Manao Badhte Jao. A horizontal platform was created, IVR platform was created for organizations, partners who came together to access the platform, to disseminate their content, which actually enabled the community to choose and access the information, whatever they feel like. It actually gives them an agency to choose. It's not preachy. It's nothing like I am saying or we are saying you have to do it. We are offering variety of content, variety of types of content. We are offering advisories, we are offering stories, we are offering poems, and we are also offering informations, straight away informations, and people are choosing out of it. Some participatory activities as well, just like the offline workshop, participatory activities, some activities through which they can express themselves, their thoughts. And with the Bachpan Manao, it's a small pilot phase, and we have been able to reach out to more than 26,000 people in just 5 months. And user voices, we collected community voices from different regions of the country, voices starting from their concerns, their opinions on the matters, and their folk stories and poems. It actually give us a perception that parenting is something that in Indian context it is thought that it's very natural, people just know how to rear a child. But now gradually that thought is being changed, a gradual shift is there. And we can see that because now people are taking interest, people are listening to those informations, people are accessing those contents and sharing to make it more participatory. They are they are accessing the peer contents, not only the content we as an organization sharing with them, also peer content as well. And if we talk about the highlight moments of overall content, not only the Bachpan Manao, but overall, since 2014 Gram Money is working on this parenting content, and over the period of time what we have seen that a horizontal platform actually offer the partners to cater more people and reach out to more audience than physically possible, and that actually enhance the community choices, that what type of content and which content they want to listen, they want to consume. uh, Also, something like evolve, content evolved over the period of time based on the community demand. When community said that XYZ is the threat for the parenting, or we should focus on this, then we accommodated those points into the content to cater to the community, because they express interest, which make it more relevant, more. This platform actually give us a more adaptable nature of the content, offers flexibility. And one aha moment is something that I would really like to highlight is a male participation. In India, child rearing is primarily seen as women's responsibility. In India, it's women responsibility primarily. And over the period of time, we are seeing a gradual shift in the thought process, because earlier days male members were hardly into the discussion. But now, with the Bachpan Manao campaign in recent times, we have seen a lot of male coming together to express their interests, their concerns, and they want to know. Actually, they wanted to know that how they should interact, what should be the idea of play to create a bond with the child. That kind of information male were also express their interest to know. And it's a for me, for us, it's a very good sign for a change in the uh, change in the thought process. So these are some of the moments which actually tell us that such such type of activities, such type of coming together and organizing some campaign is very much needed for social change in terms of a granular micro level change, starting from the community, not from the community, sorry, from the family. And
Thank
with this, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Deepika.
Thanks. Thank you, Paro and Urvashi. I know we have a little bit of time, and then we'll open up for questions as well. But one thing which kind of struck me is, and this is a question I had for both of you, and maybe you can use that to kind of segue into the audience questions. There are many initiatives in India that are happening, which are developing their own learnings in terms of what the voice of parents, in terms of what parents are looking for and what parents want. And in your initiative, Urvashi, what has emerged as sort of the most surprising thing that you've learned in the engagement with parents? Urvashi, this is for you.
Yeah, sorry. Can you repeat?
My question is, in your sort of community engagement with parents, outside of sort of the technology and things, but what has been over 8 years, what has been sort of the shifts that you're seeing, but what are you learning in terms of demand and the voice of parents? What are they looking for? What do they want? And what are you hearing from the ground? If there was one thing which was this big aha thing for you, if you could share with the group.
Yeah, thank you, Deepika. So one aha moment that I would like to share, when we were doing the research on the preferences of parents, what do they want? So they're okay, we want to do something for our child, whatever the economic background, what they are working or not working, that does not matter. Their only one demand is that give a ready to use material. If you can tell me what should I do with my child today, I will do that. So that kind of awareness I can see in parents, but the lack of resources, how they can access those resources, that is a challenge for them, and they are demanding for them. So that is a women parent are asking for that.
I think around the world, this is literally the sort of demand, right? The diversity of information suited for my needs. And if I have a special needs child, what kind of help, where can I go for help? They're looking for information and verified, trusted information. So to that extent, that's something that in the context of the Gramvani horizontal platform, the fact that the resources came from trusted organizations made it possible for the voices to be heard, and they could rely on the information that they were getting. So there's a lot of trust in the context of parenting work that's happening in the Indian context. I just wanted to also put on the table. But I'm very mindful of time, and therefore, before I speak further, may I please request the audience, anyone has any questions to our two speakers and the presentations that they have made before I close this out and hand it back to Amanda. Okay, as people are thinking about it, what has been the most interesting question that has been asked in the last year? Is there a common theme of questions that are emerging? And also particularly, this one is for Urvashi, and then I'll come to Paramita. How are governments engaging with these ideas? Claire, you have your hand up. Sorry, I didn't see that. Claire?
Yes, thank you so much for that presentation. It was super interesting from all the panelists. Your last point really caught my attention, where you spoke about trust and the importance of trust in this process. Perhaps you can talk a little bit more about how these various stakeholders go about forging trust with parents, and what are your learnings from that? Thank you.
Okay. So if I talk about the trust, see, parents trust and the government trust both. I talk about both the perspectives. So when I am talking about the parents trust, when parents call us, okay, and they message us, share their resources with us, share the academic progress of the child with us. So again, internet has a lot of resources, open resources. They can access any resources at any time, but specific content that can help in their child learning is very limited. And in that scenario, when they cannot self-explore on the YouTube, but because we are using the WhatsApp chatbot solution where they get a trusted resources, and then an option of asking their question related regarding their child. So where we provide the trust experience to a parent. And if I share the government perspective as well, when we do partnership with the governments, then again, governments, so we collaborated with government. So not only we are creating this, government also actively participating in the parental engagement now. So they themselves creating the policies in new education policy, either in the NCF, National Curriculum Framework. They put the strong part of the parental engagement now, and collaborating with many organizations, trusting them so that we collaborate, agencies and the government can collaborate each other and create the content for the parents as well. And when we do partnership with government, the trust among parents also increases.
There's a question that Eve has put on the chat, which is how does parenting education best support individuals in developing their confidence in their own instincts? Paro, I think this may be something you can attempt because, when you've heard parenting voices and when they make the calls and talk about their experiences, I think it's interesting to share that peer learning component that you talked about and their own
Right.
instincts. You just talk about how does information that you give support them in developing their own confidence, if you can speak a bit to that.
So as I mentioned earlier during my presentation, that we mostly cater to peri-urban and rural communities who have lack of information channels, and that actually hinders their pathway. When they access information from a trusted source, so they know, okay, I am now aware about certain facts. So when you have the confidence, so like we have seen over the during the campaign or other time as well, when people have the confidence that yes, I know the right thing, so they that actually boosts their confidence. Yes, it's true. Right information boosts their confidence. So same way, right information, because whenever we are creating content and exploring it or throwing it on the platform to the parents, we are giving the reference that from where it has been drawn and what could be the impact of the overall scenario. So actually it changed people's confidence, because then they started, first they asked the basic question, then they asked little in-depth question, or gradually they started getting involved in the more complex discussion over the platform. So it proves that they gain confidence with the information. I guess I have answered.
Yeah. So I want to, if I have a couple of minutes, Urvashi, you had your hand up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add, Deepika, because I have a wonderful anecdote. There is a team member in my calling team. She is a parent, and when another team member was supporting that team member child, so what happened? Okay, I am getting the support for my child. She asked a question. I can support my child now in a better way. I want to support other parents as well in the community also. And she joined our team. So that again, it first parent education, maybe not graduate, not postgraduate, but if she has little education and if she get the right guidance and right resources, so they get the confidence in themselves as well, and also the capacity to empower other parents in their community as well. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
I also wanted to make connect it to the comment that you all made. I think the tonality of engagement has a lot to do with respecting the instinct of the parent. It's and Paro talked about it. She said, not preachy, and that's a hugely it's not talking down to you. It's respecting you for who you are. You're not being told. It has a lot to do with creating the space for building confidence and also trusting your own self and making meaning of this for yourself and hearing other people's voices, and which is what some of the platforms enable. Hearing other people ask similar questions or engaging with it also helps build that hone your intuition and hone your instinct and hone your confidence. And that's what sort of this community engagement piece does. While they are talking about this in the context of technology, we've also in the Bachpan Manao ecosystem and network have organizations like Pratham and Rocket and Key Education Foundation and several others. But Pratham particularly does physical mothers groups in communities. And how mothers learn from each other is also an interesting thing. And some of the differences and challenges that some mothers face who are of expression get sorted out in a community where somebody helps someone out and clarifies thinking. And everyone feels like I'm not the only one in this mess. Others are also too. I'm not the only one struggling with this problem. Others are also too. And creating a community of parents, particularly in the context of children with special needs and all of that, those kinds of support groups have been extremely helpful in at least in the different initiatives we've seen in the ecosystem of parent engagement to build strength, confidence, instinct. And it's not, technology is a channel, but everything else actually enables that. Any other questions from the group? Eve is leaving. Thank you, Eve, for joining us. I'm going to take 2 minutes as we go to kind of showcase, well, or I've talked about low-tech WhatsApp voice. AI is also something that has started to come into the play, and Urvashi talked about the national education policy. I want to just showcase one example, and I'm just going to present it for 2 seconds on the screen. AI assistant as a public good has an idea that that we had worked on.
I'm fine, and you?
Sorry, that we'd worked on, and the government of India earlier this year, in February, launched something called eJadu Pitara, which is an e-magic box, which has a couple of apps which have been built on open source digital infrastructure. And one of them is a AI-powered guide or an assistant for parents and teachers. So the intent of bringing this to this forum is the spectrum of solutions we are looking at is rather wide in the Indian context in parental engagement. And the idea of this is an example of what that looks like, right? The parent app, you can ask a question, it will give you an answer. And look, if you look at the right side, the source of the government document, which it relies on, is also mentioned. So it's coming from a trusted source. So this is also now a tool that is available in the Indian ecosystem to leverage and use. And as we are talking of parental engagement, we're finding more and more different ideas. But one takeaway idea that I will say from being part of this forum is maybe it's time for India to think of, and for us to think of what it means to create a compendium of ideas that are at play. Much like how George has been talking about in the context of the Africa Compendium with the 28 case studies. Maybe it's time to see and construct something like that is my takeaway from this conversation, at least. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the time. And if we have a few minutes before we wind up, I'm going to hand this back to Amanda, but if Amanda would like to show the Bachpan Mana film to the very end to leave a nice feeling with the audience, happy for that to happen. Amanda, all yours.
Thanks, Deepika. I think that was a great takeaway. I love the idea of an Indian compendium, kind of like our African compendium. I think that would be a really exciting idea. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just briefly show this video. And
मुल की हसदी बोना से काठों माँ होया कतगा रोते लोच मेरो गाँव माँ होया माटू माटू आई ब्याखुनी पाख्यों माँ होया माझी बाटू हिरणी चटियागी डेरा माँ मुल मुल के हंस दे हो पूना से काठियों माँ हो कतगारों तेलुचा
बच्चों को सीखने की आजादी दो, उन्हें बचपन मनाने दो।
wonderful. Thank you so much to all of our speakers for the film, for the presentations, the discussion and questions. As I mentioned at the start, we will be sharing the information and recording from this at the end over email. And we'll be following up with everyone over email. We did take a little bit more time with the panel, but I thought it was great to hear all the discussion and questions. So what we're going to do now is just to check. So we were going to have one of ECTAN's Knowledge Fellows present on their parenting project. Rashid, are you online? I don't see you, but just checking. Okay, great. So I don't see Rashid, so we'll go ahead and jump to our next section because we're actually running a little bit short on time anyways. But we'll get that information to you. And what we'd actually like to do now is on the GISP website, and we'll put the link in the chat. We have a collection of resources on parent and caregiver support across different sectors, different resources, evidence. We have a resource and knowledge hub, and Claire's just put the link for that in the chat. So everyone, if you haven't seen it before, can poke around and look. But one thing we've heard would be helpful and that we want to offer as a resource to countries is to have country web pages. And we really wanted to get inputs and thoughts from the community while we have all of you online, because we want these to be something that would be useful for you and to different partners in different settings. So we're working on developing country web pages to share information on parenting caregiver support. And as you can see here, the objectives of these web pages are to share knowledge, resources, and evidence grouped by country, to raise the profile of parenting support in countries, and to document progress. And this is something we've heard from countries would be useful, but we really want to hear from you on what parts you would find the most useful, how you would want to contribute and feed into this process, and what you would really want these to look like so they're the most use for you and your partners and for the parents you support. So just to say, this idea originally came because we have a bunch of different regional mappings. George mentioned the African Compendium, but we also have mappings across Latin America and Asia and Europe. And we were trying to figure out a cohesive way to share all this information. So we started by making some mock-ups of what a page could potentially look like on our website. But like I mentioned, we really want to hear from you about what you think this would be the most helpful, what would be most helpful, what resources you would want to see, and the best way to document some of this progress in country. So we would have some basic indicators, the population of children in a country, whether or not there's a national multi-stakeholder platform for parenting support and a government focal point or a country coordinator, whether there are in-country parenting support networks. For example, in South Africa, we know there's SAPIN, the South Africa Parenting Programs Implementers Network. Are there anything similar in other countries? And if they have like a vision or an action plan or a manifesto or something similar for the country. Then we would have a way of showing different parenting programs. So you can see that we've got Philippines here as an example. These are some of the programs in the Philippines, but a lot of this information is just mock-ups and exemplary, not the full content yet. So we do know there are other parenting programs in the Philippines that we'd want to include. We just the list got cut off from beyond that. And then what information would be helpful for you to see on other parenting programs in a country? Are there other things you would want to see when you're looking for information on programs in countries? And then as well, we would have sectoral delivery. So what are the different sectors involved in delivering parenting support programs in a country, resources, applicable rules or policies? Basically, we're just trying to get an idea from you about what would be the most helpful. And I put together a quick Jamboard just because we want people to interact and to share about what they think would be helpful. So first of all, what do you want to see? Is the mock-up that we shared kind of your vision for what you would want to see on a country website about national progress on parenting caregiver support in your country? How could this content be collected and represented? And how would you like to contribute to this process? Or any other thoughts and feelings, reflections that you have? So I'll go ahead and switch to the Jamboard and put that link in the chat. But we basically just really want to hear from you. So while I'm putting the Jamboard in the chat, first of all, does anybody have any thoughts or opinions immediately that they'd like to share about what would be helpful from a country page? Or would something like this not be helpful? Is there another form of information that would be helpful for you as you collaborate and coordinate in your countries? I see a couple people opening the Jamboard. And if you don't want to use the Jamboard, you can feel free to raise your hand to put answers in the chat. We really just want this to be an open discussion, and these questions aren't prescriptive. They're more meant to kind of jumpstart your thinking and to really ignite the process. Do one answer on a child opportunity index. I might move some of these around just so that we can see everybody's answers, but feel free to click on the sticky notes. You can make a new sticky note here on the left corner where it says sticky note and just type in your answer. Tracking on social determinants of health. Early childhood education and pediatric health, early childhood workforce statistics. So this is, you can start to see some of the challenges that we encountered when we first started to think about what would be helpful for country pages on parent and caregiver support. Because as you can start to see here, we've already got a wealth of different sectors that would need to be included and to kind of create this cohesive picture in a country. Which is an exciting challenge and why we kind of wanted to see what everyone was thinking and how they were conceiving of what would be helpful for them before we jumped into things too much. Does anyone who's put an answer here want to kind of explain their thinking or to share a bit more? Brain development and culture, mapping of actors. Feel free to put your hand up or to just come off mute too if you have any thoughts. I'm seeing some good ideas here. Different evidence-based practices, great parenting across the life course. And yes, just to say that this is intended to look across the life course. So not just early childhood, but adolescence, middle childhood, and to really be an encompassing picture as much as possible. Milestones, okay. Specific events and initiatives underway. Okay, great. Yeah, we did have the big list of global and regional events right at the beginning of the town hall, but if you know, for example, national events or other things, that would be could be useful use for the country pages. Okay, just because of time, I'm going to jump on to the next question, but feel free to stay on this page if you would like to and continue to add thoughts and ideas. And we'll share this link afterwards too so everyone can see thoughts. So the second question is, how could this content be collected and represented? And if you want to jump to the second question, we have the back and forward arrows here at the top. And I'll put this, for anyone who can't see the Jamboard, I'll put this in the chat, this question in the chat as well, so that you can respond in the chat if you would like to. And just to say there are no wrong answers, this really is just idea generation because, like we said, we want the website to be a useful resource for everyone in the community and co-developed by those in the community and for countries to feel ownership over the country pages. So this is just really to get an idea of what you would like to see and how we can collaborate on this sort of thing. Desk reviews, stakeholders, workshops, or consultancy. Dashboards, okay, great. I like the idea of stakeholder workshops. It might be a little difficult to do country by country for every single country, but maybe there's opportunities through the town halls like this. Open network presentations and handouts on topics through virtual surveys with partners using a snowball approach, evidence from recent research work, desk reviews, stakeholder workshops, or consultancy. And then the third question, how would you like to contribute to this process? Is this something where you might want to help with collecting the content, with reviewing before it goes live? Basically, how would you like to collaborate on this rather than this just being something that we present for you? We're open to hearing your ideas and thoughts and opinions on this. And again, I'll put this question in the chat. Sharing information. Sharing sources on Child Opportunity Index. Sharing a survey with key actors. Great. Questionnaires for social emotional screening, conceptualizing and exploring tech public goods, reviewing versions of tools. Okay, great. Again, just moving these around, but feel free to continue to put answers in. Connecting to a network, CDC sources and milestones. And Claire in the chat has said some great inputs into the country pages. This will really help to strengthen this offering to support the global community. And I just wanted to echo that. This is really helpful to hear all of your thoughts and opinions. And then finally, just because we're running low on time, any other thoughts or reflections you have about what might be helpful or useful? And maybe if you can feel free to continue to put it in the Jamboard, but also just feel free to come off mute if you have any thoughts or opinions, or to put your hand forward to put it in the chat. We really want this to be an open forum and to hear your thoughts. Not seeing any. Oh, should we have a country by country input and discussion sessions? That's one question. I think Claire posed that here. Would that be helpful to have different country stakeholder workshops? Any other thoughts or reflections, please feel free to share. And as I said, we'll be following up on this. This is, not the end of the conversation. And we'll be following up on email over some of these points as well. So if you have any thoughts later on, feel free to contribute, to continue to add to the Jamboard or to share with us over email. Okay, great. No, just because we're running out of time, I'm going to stop sharing here. As I mentioned, we'll share the link to the Jamboard so that you have it and can look at it again. But we're basically at time. So I really just wanted to give maybe just 1 minute if anybody wants to share anything that they would like to share from their side. I know Eve shared a bit at the beginning. We had the input from George on the new compendium, but are there any updates from your countries, from your organizations on parent and caregiver support that you would like to share just before we all need to jump off? We had some great discussion during the panel discussion, Q&A session. George, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Amanda. Just for the interest of partners who are on board here, who may be having activities or, work they're doing through their partners or themselves in the 5 countries of Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Zambia. African is collaborating with key partners in those places to hold national childcare dialogues in those countries. And therefore, this would be a great opportunity for actors here to connect to those childcare dialogues. And we are glad to share, the links to the technical working groups that are leading this processes in a country. Yeah, I think I wanted to make that, available because they're holding the national dialogues on diverse dates, some in August, some in September, October, November. And those could be very useful opportunities. They're bringing different actors together involving government, civil society, academia, and other actors. So thanks, Amanda.
Thanks so much, George. Great to hear of those national childcare dialogues. And just to say as well, we briefly mentioned the Global Ministerial Conference on Ending Violence Against Children at the beginning. I know that a lot of countries are doing national preparatory sessions, and parent and caregiver support is one of the 7 Inspire strategies. So if you're part of that process and are interested in seeing how you can highlight parent and caregiver support as a country pledge or country commitment during that pledging process for the ministerial conference, we'd also love to hear from you on that and to connect with you. So that's another area where we'd love to hear from you if you're involved in that process or interested at all in that process. So I don't see any other hands. Feel free to put up your hand if you do have any last thoughts, but since we're now officially over time, I would just like to thank everyone for joining us. Oh, Rajesh.
Thank you. What we just heard is a good idea that national multi-stakeholder consultations is an important way forward. What we have done I used to be part of WHO in the Southeast Asia regional office. And Sheila is there. We organized a regional meeting first on nurturing care, and then we did one parenting on GISP also. But there was no follow-up support available to bring countries together in regional consultations followed by national consultations. So, we are quite used to this kind of inception of programming through our earlier, experiences in adolescent health, newborn health, child health, that it needs a lot of, consultations at local level, national level. And then the government, once gets convinced, then they put their own money to take it forward. So we haven't seen that kind of movement or international support for GSP initiatives or even for nurturing care in our region, in this region of WHO, which is Southeast Asia. So that's my thought, that we should invest in this kind of activity so that more stakeholders are involved and the governments are involved. Primarily, they are the leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. Super helpful to hear your thoughts and to hear about the regional context from where you've been working as well. And I think this is something that we can kind of draw as a conclusion from this conversation, is the usefulness of hearing from different national stakeholders. We heard about potentially interest in an Indian compendium, drawing on the inspiration from the African compendium, which would be great. We heard a lot of thoughts and reflections on how we can represent national progress to a global audience, and the best ways of doing that in a way that's also useful for national stakeholders. Really just a great conversation overall. Thank you so much to our panelists and speakers. Claire has also added in the chat that our next Global Parenting Town Hall will be on August 28th. So we're aiming to do these monthly at the end of the month. August 19th is World Humanitarian Day. So in honor of that, our theme for next month will be focusing on parenting in crisis. And if you're interested in contributing to that or have any ideas for a future town hall, we would love to work with you on that. So feel free to reach out, info@supportparents.org. I'll also put my email here in the chat so that you can contact me directly if you would like to. And we'll be following up over email with the slides and the recording and outcomes from this. But thank you, everyone. Great having you here today and hearing all the discussion and thoughts, and we look forward to the next one. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks and bye.